Hi guys, my name is Nicolette Mashile. I am also known as the Financial Bunny. Welcome to the Financial Bunny TV. Today we're talking all things restoring credibility in Forex trading, and we're doing this in partnership with OctaFX. Now, OctaFX is a trading platform where you can trade Forex. But I think before we get into all of this, there is such a weirdness around Forex because people feel like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get scammed. Oh my goodness, what am I doing? Do I actually understand what I'm doing? But also the excitement, because we see it often where people who make lots of money on Forex or make it seem like they're making lots of money really get people amped up to get into Forex. The unfortunate thing is that if you do not understand Forex, it is something that you definitely should let go of. And I want to just, before I get into it, and answer the question of whether or not Nicolette would go and trade Forex, or if I would not trade Forex, and if I do, what are my reasons, and if not, what are some of my reasons. I want to say something. You know, people are not honest. And I think honesty is such an important part of doing anything when it comes to finance, because numbers don't lie. Eventually, if you oversell something, you will get caught because the numbers do not lie. You would need to consistently spin a story for it to make sense to people as to why the numbers say one thing and why you are saying another. And with this being said, one of the biggest things that I also think is a misconception is the idea that Forex is a scam. First and foremost, if you look at all our banks in this country, across the world, globally, banks have a foreign exchange department. And this is exactly what they do. They facilitate these types of trades and these types of exchanges. Why? Because at the end of the day, Forex trading is all about the buying and the selling of currencies. What are currencies? Currencies is simply the money that is used within certain geographical locations or geographical economies. South Africa is a geographical economy, or it is an economy on its own. So South Africa uses ZAR and we call it the Rand. If you go to the United States of America, they use the US dollar. If you go to Mozambique, for instance, they use what is called Metical. If you go to Japan, for instance, they use the Japanese yen. If you go to Namibia, for instance, they use what is called a Namibian dollar. If you go to Botswana, it's called the pula. So each and every single country can be seen as a geographical economy, and they will have their own currencies. Now, currencies have a value to them. And that is why you will often hear, if you're watching or listening to business or business news or the news, you will hear what is called indicators. And the indicators will simply tell you when you pit one currency against the other. And often, because we're in South Africa, we will get the exchange rate or the indicators of the British pound, right? The American dollar, right? And of course, the euro. Those are the three that often get given to us. And often you will hear the presenter or whoever is doing the indicators, they will say, if you were to buy a burger in America, it will cost you 36 Rand. If you were to buy it in Europe, it will cost you this amount of money. And if you were to buy it in any of the British areas, this is how much money a burger would cost you. All of these things are simply to indicate what is the value of our South African Rand against another currency. This is important to understand if you want to go into the world of Forex trading. Number one is understanding currencies. Number two is understanding how currencies move, what influences the change. Now, it is important again for me to mention right here that the changes in currencies are so subtle. And that is why it is almost impossible that with a small amount of money, like 1,000 Rand, you would make 100,000 Rand tomorrow from Forex trading. So if somebody says to you, this is possible, that is the first way in which you will be able to identify that this person is really taking you for a ride. Let's use an example, right? Because one of the other things that you will get to understand is that when you are trading Forex, generally we trade Forex in pairs. Why? Because, as I said, you are buying and selling a currency from another economy using another currency from another economy. So if you're in South Africa, generally you would be buying your dollars, for instance, in rand form, right? So you would need to understand how much is $1 in South African rands. And if, for instance, the dollar loses ground and the dollar drops in how much it is in South African rands, that's when you would buy more dollars. And then you would hold and you would wait for the day the dollar goes back up again and it gains some grounds and the dollar has got a far higher exchange to the rand, and that's when you can either sell your dollars and make more money back when it comes to your rands. That is literally the basis of what Forex trading is. Now, of course, I'm sure you're asking yourself, okay, that means that if there is a slight change, I would need lots and lots and lots of money. Well, on one hand, yes, if you want to benefit from subtle changes within currency pairs, you do need a huge and substantial amount of money. However, that's not the only way in which you are going to make money when it comes to Forex trading. There's also derivatives that you can buy. You can also buy CFDs, right? And that is when you are now trading on the difference in price of the actual asset that you are buying. Money is an asset. Currencies are assets because currencies represent cash. Cash is an asset. And this is literally how you are going to be able to make money when it comes to Forex trading. So what would make a currency either gain ground or lose its momentum? There are various factors. There are economical factors. There are political factors. There is the history of that currency. So for instance, the American dollar has always been a superpower currency. Most of our currencies are pegged against the American dollar. But also looking at the size and the maturity of economies, the American economy is far more matured than the South African economy, for instance, the Brazilian economy, for instance, the Chinese economy is also a superpower. So our countries like South Africa are called emerging markets. Now, of course, if you are in an emerging market, it means that there's innovation that's currently happening. Things are exciting. All of these things would mean that our currency and its value will fluctuate. It will go up, it will go down, and it may be easily influenced by certain things that are happening not only in South Africa, but also globally. And that's when you start to see or hear people say, Jacob Zuma has said something and the rand has lost momentum. That is because he is a political figure. At some point, he was in a strategic position. Well, he was the country's president, So politically, if there is no confidence in the South African economy, the rand may react. It's not always the case. Right. If something happens like the COVID pandemic, that was a huge knock on economies across the globe. Now, because of that could potentially have an impact on the South African rand. Something that could happen in America. When Donald Trump was the president, he was making decisions for the American economy, yet it was having impact on the South African rand. These are all of the little things. It's like almost, if you studied geography or you just lived in South Africa, you kind of know when it's about to rain. If you step outside and the air is kind of moist, and you're not in Durban, by the way, or you're not in Cape Town where there's a sea, if you step out in Johannesburg and you feel the air is a bit dense and there's a bit of moist and the clouds are starting to form up and darken up, you can make the assumption that rain is on its way. These are called signals in the world of Forex trading. Now, I ask people this question. It's the same thing in relationships. You kind of know the signals that a girl who likes you is going to give you as a lady. You kind of know the signals that a guy who likes you may give you. And when you see those signals, you may believe that actually I might be able to yield a positive result if I go for it with this person. right? So, in essence, that is exactly what trading is all about. It's about being able to identify the specific signals that can potentially tell you whether or not there may be a slight change within your currencies. And you need to be able to identify those, right? So all of this makes up the experience of trading Forex. Now, the Forex or the foreign exchange market is one of the biggest in the world because, as I said, even if a country doesn't have assets, a country will always have cash as their number one asset, which means that they've got their currency, they've got their economy, right? So that's what makes it one of the biggest markets that we've got. And this is the one market where you can fully say you are trading instead of investing because you are literally waiting for an opportunity to sell high and buy low. So if you know traditionally the US dollar is always at a high, you will wait for it to lose its momentum, especially if your own currency that you are pairing it with is a weaker currency. You wait for the moment that it loses momentum because you know when it does gain momentum and you did buy, you will have a great day when it comes to trading Forex. All of these things are quite important. But even more important is about where and how do you actually trade your Forex. Many people get scammed because they leave this in the hands of secondary people or third parties and they just like, oh, here's my money, please trade for me. Without understanding how Forex works, without understanding the person that is going to be trading for you, without understanding the platform. In the olden days, people had to pick up the phone, call a broker and say, a physical human broker, and say, please do this 1, 2, 3, 4 thing for me. Whereas in this day and age, we've got a number of platforms. And that's why today I want to introduce you, if you've never heard of the platform called OctaFX, that's the platform that I am going to be trying out. So let's journey together and try out OctaFX. One of the two things that really pulled me towards OctaFX, number one, I have a very high risk appetite, guys. Now I don't mind. Why? Because also, remember, one of the things I always speak about is having a good asset allocation strategy. When you have done the due diligence of making sure that you diversify in terms of risk when it comes to where you want your money to grow, one of the biggest things is making sure that you've got some investments that are low risk, some investments that are medium risk, and some investments that are high risk, but also some investments that are very aggressive. And I personally would put Forex trading under aggressive, and I'll tell you why. Because when I do it, I'm also aggressive in my manner of trading Forex, right? So I'm looking for a platform that is going to help me with things like zero balance protection. What do I mean when I talk about zero balance protection? Well, sometimes you may find that you win some and then you lose some. So you may put in a trade, whether it's through a CFD, or you may be putting in a trade in your own capacity doing Forex trading, and things may go very wrong. And you may go to a negative balance. When I've got a negative balance, I would like to know that the platform, because there's nothing to gain from it, and I really don't want to sit owing a platform money, they will just reset my balance back to zero and give me a fresh start. I love that. So I love that negative balance protection, so that I never find myself in a situation where I'm owing a platform because unfortunately the call that I made was not the call that was going to give me a win. The second one that I like, because again, I'm a very busy woman. I'm doing farming, I'm doing television, I'm doing financial education, I'm doing media buying, I'm doing all sorts of exciting things. I really think that Forex trading is exciting. However, I might not have the full commitment that I may need to be a full-time trader. So I would like to know that there are mentors or people I can copy, people who are master traders, who have done this, who want to see other people also win, so that I can copy their strategies. When they make a buy or an order, mine must also automatically do that, because maybe I might even miss what the master trader is doing because maybe I am on television. So I want a platform that allows me to do that. And I've just found out that OctaFX also has that. So that really gets me excited because this is exactly what I am looking for if I'm going to be trading Forex. When I do have an opportunity and I do have the time on my hands, of course I'm playing around with my different pairs. Not only am I doing a South African or a ZAR and US, which is the default for a lot of people coming from South Africa, I would try out a Japanese yen and the British pound, for instance. I will try out the pula, for instance, with the US dollar. But as long as I am here in South Africa, and I don't have all the time dedicated to me to do this on a full-time basis, I would love to be able to be mentored and to copy a master trader's strategy. Also, of course, bearing in mind that those master traders may not necessarily be using the same currency pairs as me. However, eventually, trial and error, I will eventually find the right master trader to able to copy. All of these things are very important for me when it comes to a platform. So I'm sure by now you've kind of figured out the answer to my question of whether or not I would trade Forex. It's a definite yes. I've got a very high risk appetite. I'm looking for new opportunities to allocate to my aggressive risk when it comes to the assets that I'm going to be trading in or I'm going to be I'm investing in. This is specifically going to be put under my trading profile, under my aggressive risk, and you know what? I'm going for it. I'm going for it, and I'm well aware of the risks. The market in Forex trading really fluctuates in a volatile manner. So I'm really inclined to understand that I will perhaps lose some and perhaps win some. There is a saying that says, high risk, high potential return. And I think I'm ready to take that risk. 2022 is the year to be bold. 2022 is the year to take risk, but calculated risk. How do I calculate it? I make sure that my other investments and my other trading is very much low risk, very much stable funds, I don't want to put a jitteriness on my investment strategy, but I would love to take some risk. And I think Forex trading is where I'm going to be perfectly placed to be able to do that. I'll see you guys on the next video.